So we were talking about the end of the John Williams era, the Richard Donner Supermans, the Zack Snyder, DCEU. Just talking about Ben Affleck, right? And how he's basically moving on. So, you know, it kind of leads me into my next point about the waste of what releasing the Flash is going to do. Because when the early rumors were is that the Flash was going to actually kill off Ben Affleck at the end of the movie. Like him and like the Michael Keaton Batman were going to get into a fight. Keaton ends up whipping his ass and ends up Batfleck effectively comes to an end. And that was supposed to reintroduce Michael Keaton, which I loved. Michael Keaton Batman '89, Batman Returns were some of my favorite Batman movies growing up. So I was looking forward to seeing him back in the Flash and how they were going to incorporate that, and just to see like what's that Batman of that era doing now at this point. Keaton in his 70s. He's always loved Batman. He'll always be the original Batman to me. I thought Ben Affleck was a tremendous Batman. I think Robert Pattinson's take on Batman was great. Would love to see the Schumacher cut of Batman Forever, which you can kind of piece that together with the different deleted scenes that are out there anyway. Because I don't think it would have like completely altered the look of the movie, but that's just my opinion. I think that Val Kilmer being Batman was awesome. And then nobody really talks about um, the Arnold Schwarzenegger and George Clooney Batman and Robin. That was, uh, you know, to this day not the greatest quality of movie, especially with the introduction of the bat nipples. Nobody ever really needed that or asked for it. So that kind of gets us back to the Gal Gadot announces that Patty Jenkins won't return. Her kind of like farewell, so to speak. We probably won't really hear more about that until after Shazam 2: Fury of the Gods comes out, because she's not going to be back as Wonder Woman. They're going to look to probably recast that role and find a Trinity, Wonder Woman, Batman, and Superman that are all pretty close in the same age together as they build out this new Justice League team, which will probably come towards like year 5 and 6 after they've had a chance to flesh out some of these characters again. That's my opinion. Zack Snyder, there was a lot of talk that he had signed a new deal, which would have been announced in March of this year, right around his birthday, that he was going to be returning to the DCU. That's no longer going to happen. I think that Warner Brothers Discovery, James Gunn, Peter Safran, David Zaslav, at this point, they want to separate themselves from the Snyderverse and those fans. When I think of like quality directors as to who's going to helm these movies, I think that that's the challenge. DC, Warner Brothers Discovery has burned a ton of bridges, with this recent wildfire, wholesale firing of the talent, letting Henry Cavill go, Ben Affleck, Gal Gadot, Jason Momoa. Basically, Aquaman 2 is gonna just kind of be its own movie, and then he's done as Aquaman. He might return in like a different role, but I just don't really understand as to how you can fans can like separate the two. I mean, they might be able to do it. It might be successful, it might not, but I mean, me personally, I have no interest in going to see Aquaman 2, uh, especially if Ben Affleck's not going to be in it, which they've cut that cameo. Henry Cavill not going to be in the Flash anymore as Clark Kent. That's done. So like, again, DC is releasing these movies to essentially just make whatever they can. They hope that the movie's good. The Flash movie's still supposed to has tested very well, from my understanding, but connectively, it's just gonna after Aquaman 2, that's it. Like they're moving on. Everything moving forward is to help build up that new universe. Um, so that leads me to my next point. Like DC and Warner Brothers, if they want to get this right, have got to nail the director. Now, there's been a lot of talk that Steven Spielberg very well could be in the running to handle a superhero movie. The problem is he's definitely got the credentials, and I think that he could definitely direct an incredible Superman movie if he understands the source material. I think that that's the biggest piece. Does he understand the aesthetic? Does he understand the source material? Can he relate to the character? Because he's never done it. He's never done a superhero flick. That was Zack Snyder's like foray. That was his playground. Like that's what he grew up wanting to do with Watchmen, and then Man of Steel, and then Batman vs Superman, Justice League, right? Um, but that's the thing is that DC and Warner Brothers needs to find a director like a Chris Nolan that can take the reins and lead WB Discovery down the path that's going to allow fans to buy back into this new DCU. Patty Jenkins gone. You know, I thought Patty nailed Wonder Woman 1, the first one, the original. Just the tone, the aesthetic, like Gal's character. And while I understand what she was trying to do in terms of completing Gal's character arc as Wonder Woman, saying that she doesn't need a sword anymore, and that she didn't want to be as violent. That there's no room. That's complete bullcrap in my opinion. And that's kind of like the beginning of the end as to what led creatively to the demise and diminishing returns of Wonder Woman 84. Like, yeah, Gal can still be a loving and be about love, but that, at the end of the day, that's not why we like the character. Like, maybe things develop between Wonder Woman and Superman, had we seen the death of Lois Lane, right? I personally would love like an Injustice style universe. I think that would be incredible. I love what they've done, what Warner Brothers video games have done with the Injustice series. Like those are some of the best video games out there, in my opinion, in terms of like storytelling. So if they tried to go that route, I think that would be incredible, and they should. Like the tone shouldn't be light and cheery. Like I don't need light and cheery. I need a good superhero flick with good action, good plot, good storytelling. Like that's what it comes down to. Not this like new woke America. Got to be politically correct. Like that's not how these characters were developed. Like let's tell some stories that people can relate to with real life situations. I think that's really what it comes down to. I think you can count on Zachary Levi. He's gone. That guy's always been a kind of like a joke artist anyway. Like I don't think he takes himself too seriously. He clearly doesn't take his role very seriously. And quite frankly, he's never really like supported the DC universe as it stood. And then he's like, well, why can't I be part of it? Because you haven't backed up or had a good voice to begin with. So I don't really have any love lost for that. Probably won't even see Shazam 2. May wait till it comes out on streaming. But I think that Zachary Levi, he's gone after this. No connections to the DC universe. I don't even think that they want Shazam to be part of it. I mean, he's kind of like a tier 3 character in my opinion. I mean, I'd rather see characters like Cyborg fleshed out a little bit more. Superboy, things like that. I think that Supergirl, I'd love to see a good Supergirl film. I'm interested in seeing Sasha Calle in The Flash. I think she's going to be tremendous. I'm sorry if I butchered the name. But I think that'll be interesting to see, kind of like the story that they tell with her. Loved Michael Shannon as General Zod, things like that. The Rock, I love The Rock. I thought that he would be a great Black Adam. I enjoyed the film. I was really looking forward to the Superman cameo at the end. And I think that all he did was try to like be a voice for the fans at the end of the day, and now he's being shown the door. So unfortunately the film didn't do well. A lot of that's probably because of the fanfare, which in my opinion isn't really right. I feel like there's been so much negativity because the fans like, oh, you do this or we're not going. Well, if fans continue to have that mindset, then we're never going to get a connected universe that we'll ever be happy with. It's just going to be churn and repeat, fired, moving on, so on and so forth. I just, at some point, this reset needed to happen. I mean, calling it what it is, it was going to have to happen. The unfulfilling part is that we'll never see Zack's 5 movie arc of what he intended for us to see. And but it is what it is. Like, we got the Justice League movie that he wanted us to see, and all glorious 4 hours of it is just tremendous. I loved Ray Porter as Darkseid. Would love to have seen that, but unfortunately, it's just not going to happen. It doesn't mean that they may not bring him back at some point, down the line. But there's a lot of Superman characters that they could go with. I would love to see a Brainiac on film as a villain. I'm tired of the constant reverbs of Lex Luthor. Like, Lex is always going to be there. Like, you can draw and flesh things out with him down the line, but let's get some new characters in here. Let's see some of his arch rivals. Maybe you introduce a Black Adam down the line, but it's time to move on. The Flash movie. Ezra Miller been a complete PR disaster. Time to cut bait, and move on. He's not even going to be included in the marketing PR for the press ahead of the movie. With all the stuff he's got going, that they've got going on in their lives. You know, WB, Warner Bros. Discovery's not here for it. They're cutting bait as soon as the movie's over. It's been released. Again, they're just looking to make whatever they can off the film. They hope it does well in theaters to the general fan, and they'll have to end up going from there. Aquaman 2, same thing. They're basically it's a standalone sequel to the first one. You know, not a whole lot to be said. They filmed cameos with Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck. From what I understand, there's no Batman in the film anymore at this point. It's just going to be a movie that stands on its own. I don't even know what the plot's about. I mean, that goes to show what they've talked about up to this point in terms of what the impact that it's going to make. So not a whole lot going on. I will say this about James Gunn. There's a lot of fanfare that are very against with what he's done, in terms of like his writing and things of that nature. He was an executive producer on Brightburn. I enjoyed Brightburn as like a horror telling of a young Superman or a young Superboy. That's just kind of like an origin story, but it's just like Superman gone evil. I thought it was well made. I liked the tone. The pace was good. And that's something that could have been built upon. I think that his younger brother actually was the writer or the director of the film. And there was potential there. And I think that, again, the tone of the new Superman movie, it can have its lighthearted moments, but I don't want a campy Superman. I don't need the red tights brought back. I don't need the John Williams theme. Like, let's make it its own. Let's give us something that we can sustainably believe in for the next decade, that we can look forward to with each passing year. There should be 3 to 4 DC films a year coming out over the next decade, starting in 2024. That's my opinion. But DC, the Warner Brothers Discovery's got so much debt that they have to clear off their books, that they have to start fresh. And paying Ben Affleck 30 or 40 million, paying Gal Gadot 30 to 40, whatever it is, millions of dollars, Henry Cavill, like having money tied up like that, the DCU is not in a place with where Marvel was at, with where they're paying Robert Downey Jr. $60 million to be in the film for 10 minutes. Like, it's just not going to happen. Warner's just not going to make that type of investment right now. That's why Zaslav was brought in to clean house, get the money back, get the company back to a profitability standpoint as they move forward. So that's kind of my take on that. We have to show some patience, guys. Like, it can't be. Again, we can sit there and we can pound the table. Oh, look what we did for the Snyder Cut. I was part of it. Like, I loved it. But the one thing that drove me nuts is the negativity when fans don't get their way. And you're seeing it more relevant than ever. Fire James Gunn. Like, what is it? You're talking about somebody that's directly involved in the decision-making process. And he's done everything he can to foreshadow that change is coming. And that's the one thing that's constant in the world. No matter what walk of life you're from, Change is the only constant, whether it be in the job space, life, death. It's the only constant. Change. We have to adapt to it. We have to welcome it with open arms. We got to support it. Because if you don't support it, we just go in circles, and that gets us nowhere. So let's see what James Gunn's plan is going to be. Let's see the films, the quality of the films, because that is what David Zaslav's talked about, is the quality over the quantity. We want to make quality films. That's why there was a conscious decision to delay The Flash and Aquaman 2, because he says that there's room to get those movies better. So let's see them put their money where their mouth is in this particular case. Let's give them that opportunity. But being negative, you know, talking, you know, bringing down others, talking down to others, you know, degrading, oh, reliable source, unreliable source, doesn't matter. Like, what good does that do? It accomplishes nothing. You can't please everybody. You're not going to. There's going to be people that are going to go, oh, look at this guy, right? I mean, that's fine. Do it. I don't care. But, at the end of the day, we're all fans. We're all fans at the end of the day. And all we want is a good Superman movie, a good DC universe. And that's what we're striving for. So, again, thank you for taking the time to check out my video. I hope to continue to build upon this series as we move forward. Spreading some positivity, building the momentum as we head into 2023 after what's been a tumultuous, almost 3 years of COVID and a lot of change. But there's going to be more changes to come. Good, bad, and different. All we can do is look to the future. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I look forward to speaking with you guys again here in the future. Thanks a lot. Take care.